Yeah, hit me for being late all you want. I'm like several days late for counting. What I'll take that communique as is that you have missed me and good morning, Carl, which is what I will then respond to. Hi, whore. How are you doing today? Did you miss me? Wah, wah, wah. My tooth is bothering me. Where's the back end working? The back end is working. But Botrix fucking ain't working. Botrix! Botrix! Wake your ass up, Negro! Where is my chatbot? Where is my fucking chatbot? Where is my chatbot on my side screen? Where is my bot? Where is my bot? Where is my bot? Where is my bot? Wake your way up. Wake your way up. Wake your way up. Where you at, Beatrix? I know these are working. Yeah, these are working. Hello, Master Wolf. Damn it. My bowl of macaroni and cheese would not hold up my popsicle. There it is. There it is. Hello, Buster. I have returned from the kitchen, and I have returned with the cooking of 2 modules. Exclamation point HD guide now takes you to the playlist. I am feeling exhausted and deprived of my liquids, but not for fun reasons. You can see the new playlist by typing exclamation point HD2 into any of the chat rooms. They should all go to the same place. Botrix now spits out the playlist link. I have announced the playlist on Reddit of all places, and it has gotten a popular and positive response, but that response is not as large as I would like it to be, but I'll take anything I can get. The first module is about 40 minutes long. The second module is a little under 5 minutes, under an hour. No, excuse me. 5 minutes under 2 hours long. The ODST Warbond was announced yesterday. It is not applicable with the Warbond token, so you have to do that thing. Later today at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or I guess EDT is what they call it now, the Path of Exile 2 premiere for the league that will be launching next Friday, the third edict 0.3 will be live premiering, so I'll be switching gears into that around that time of the live stream. I have collected a handful of videos with updates that I wanted to look at. I know that there was a new drop from Rob's Media about denims, but I already looked at it, so there's not a lot of value that I can be able to provide by talking about it on camera. So I apologize ahead of time on that end. And in terms of all my other projects, they're coming along slowly. A lot of time was devised towards the editing for that. I got assistance from other divers that have assisted with making the second module. They have offered to come forward and help again with the third module. Realistically, the turnaround time for the first module took the longest because I had to put in the most time to produce the materials that then became a part of that guide. So, I've made it so that the opening can be modulated. All I need is clips to insert in order to make new openings. The special thanks at the end was designed in such a way where I can put in more should I feel reason and need to. Gamescom more or less came and went, and I could give less of a fuck about it, because it's like, I can't go there, so I don't care. And even then, the materials that they had there, pretty much it was like direct level worthy content. Not really anything of any value. Not to mention the amount of people who are getting raked over the fucking coals right now concerning the actual base payment structure for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Making them pay for the highest deluxe edition to have playable fucking clans, huh? That's some bullshit. And every now and again, there's a couple of tards that are still screaming, in general. I mentioned inside the server that of that second interview that I did with the Gator Gamer, that was actually picked up by Ethan Ralph. Ethan Ralph is looking at my screen and screaming his fucking head off, complaining as I talk to him over Don't Starve Together. I said that I look into it on Sunday, but I got focused on having to edit, and I didn't stop editing until I put out the 2 projects. It literally took me almost all of yesterday just to render and upload the fucking video in question. And then I spent the rest of the evening putting in the chapters. So, all of them have chapters now. Down to the exact microsecond. The majority of the chunk of the material in the middle is a live demonstration example. So, you can be able to jump through that particular section by using the chapters. I have multiple things that I want to use for Versus Chat this week. It's about finding the energy to do it, though. And if anything else comes up in the news that I haven't talked about, I'm always looking. Also, I want a double date with Kasog. Let's just say, chat, Kasog has a lot more in common with me now than anybody could have expected. As they say, never ask your pocket racist the color of his girlfriend/ex-wife. The South truly is owned by the emos. But enough about me. What about all you? What y'all been doing while I was away? While I ask you that, let me set up this tweet. You took a break from hd2. You're reading the worst book ever on livestream. You're still reading that? I thought you finished it. Oh no. Oh no. You're only a fourth of the way through. No, horror. No. Your fragile, precious mind state. That's like somebody saying I'm being actively mind crushed. Somebody should pick up that telephone. Someone should pick up that telephone. I will not like the fact that the desk is now arranged so that I can have the house phone on the desk instead of it being blaring into the microphone on the left side. But unfortunately, it means it's still closer to the microphone instead of being behind a wall. So I suppose it has no fucking difference. I should watch the VODs. You crashed out hard last night. I will do that at dinner time. Oh, well, after dinner time, since the edict will be releasing around dinner time. This post up. And post. Alright. I think that's everything I need to do in the background. If all goes well, you and the lads will do another Evil LP session in Baldur's Gate 3. Yes, Bow 6-3. Bow 6-3. Will I ever be able to do the evil run? Who knows? I also have a One Piece thing here. I have the Jubilee 1 Black Radical versus 20 Black Conservatives featuring Amanda Seales in front of me. But I feel like this is going to be a versus chat affair. So, this will remain over here in the background. And meanwhile, Omegion, my love, my brother in arms, my compadre. Oh, my brain.
Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a marvellous day today. Today we're going to be taking a look at tweets, clips, bits and bobs shared to the Twitters because iDubbbz has released a new video titled, "Are You Scared of Immigrants?"
You know, for a person who has somehow been one of the cornerstones of YouTube, for him to be drawn so far down by Rent-A-Bitch Coochie into becoming a breadtuber is such a tragic transformation for a man to go through. Remember, chat, whenever they say, what, no coochie? Say, I have seen what coochie can do to a man, and it is far worse than being called an incel.
When you take a look at the like to dislike, 18,000 say, yeah, we like this video iDubbbz. 41,000 say otherwise. Top...
Because this shit was dog shit. It was so dog shit, I couldn't believe that it was an actual released piece of content and it wasn't just him riffing on camera.
Comments, bro is quite literally lobotomized. Funny listening to someone who isn't from Europe telling everyone what Europe is like. Europe as a continent, much like the United States, is many different cultures and subcultures within many different countries. More context will be provided soon. My liberal friends are going to love this one. As a European, I love being lectured on how much we love immigration by a clueless American who's just trying to impress his wife with his hot takes. And you are the reason there's a singular chair in hotel rooms. As you can tell, not well received. In the description, I couldn't help but notice he has pinned Frogan's, Denim's, and Casey Tron's legal defense funds, or as
the weakest form of support that they could have ever gotten about that particular piece of material in perpetuity, because that's how many people do not support them when it comes to the overall view of their content, and their arguments, and their plights, and their fights that they are trying to negotiate is what people want to go support. So many fucking people are generally sick of these people. And the obvious reason why they're sick of them is because when you create a type of content and a type of culture that says what we do here is we try to destroy a family and then say, bro, what? I'm not accountable for this. I didn't do anything wrong. You are directly responsible for what comes next. And what comes next is every single person should have something to say and something to do about anyone who has been a part of the process of making it a constant being removed from monetization on those platforms relevant where that material and content is to be concerned. By that I mean, if you are a person who is going out of your way to be a part of the problem of who was harassing and attempting to destroy the livelihood and the family of our wonderful, lovely rent payer, Ethan Klein, you deserve what's coming next. There is no nice way to go about it, because the more we try to treat them like they're not what they are, the more they're going to act like the behavior itself is abnormal. Where everyone else reacting to them should be seen as, well, bro, I didn't really do anything wrong. You guys are just overreacting. Rather than the actual truth of what's fucking happening in front of us. Which is, you can choose to steal a man's content. You can explicitly go out of the way to do some of the worst violations, and I mean the worst violations of copyright on this side of the American hemisphere. Be caught. Double down. And say, no, I'm not going to apologize. He should suck my dick. The level of unhinged behavior that imposes is acceptable amongst the majority of people who have to now deal with that as a frequency and a constant with everything else that they're already dealing with. It is a level of annoyance that creates more agitation than there is understanding. In order for people to still justify this behavior, they have to either be completely and wholly unaware of what was actually happening. My boom arm goes here. They have to be completely unaware of what was actually happening, or they have to be completely on board with everything that was happening before, during, and after this event transpired. I say event, but it's more like an ongoing campaign. It is an ongoing campaign to save face and to not tell the honest truth of what's going on. And the honest truth that's going on is that there are people who are crying and bitching and mauling that they have been told they're not allowed to do anything. They're not allowed to harass people. They're not allowed to attack people. They're not allowed to antagonize people. They're not allowed to be cry bullies. But instead of telling the truth, they're complaining that they're being asked to be honest and play on an even playing field. And being asked to play on an even playing field is like being told not to abuse an infinite money glitch. And that infinite money glitch that would make so many buku dollars is a big no-no. Mainly because you cannot do this and act like this is normal. But, unfortunately, the people in question, hi NeoJ, the people in question are not willing to tell other people the honest truth of what they're really supporting them for. I believe at this time, Frogan has finally responded to the legal documents being sent by Ethan's team, which means of the anti-semi squad, she is one of 3 that have actually been playing it correct and by the ear. Denims, especially after the release of Rob's Media's videos documenting her behavior, has gotten into even further lockdown than she already was, which is to be expected. And I believe Casey Strawn is still going on the Witchy Ward protection. I believe somebody's been charging her on the Witchy Ward protection program, paying $8 to $12 for witch wards off of TikTok to protect her from Ethan Klein in the lawsuit. If I didn't physically go research that and go find the women who were selling this to them, I would have thought somebody was lying to me. No, she's been trying to do Wiccan-type warding ceremonies and getting witchy protection spells from Etsy for $8 to $12 to protect her from Ethan Klein in the lawsuit. You know, right before, when the tactic of pretending like she didn't do anything wrong didn't work, and he's only harassing me because he's a sexist pig didn't work.
They should be dubbed Ethan's Victory Fund. So over on Twitter, bits and bobs have been shared from the video, but other aspects. Things that Ian have been saying from a position of ignorance. So we're going to go through those clips from an English perspective, because I can't speak for other countries, and we're going to see what happens next. I should insert, though, there is a massive political shift taking place. It's already happening in Italy, it's happening again in France, it's happening in Germany, it's happening in Spain. Some of the biggest names within the European Union, that pyramid scheme, are starting to say, yeah, nah, Sweden's already a lost cause. The other countries don't want to fall foul of this. But, again, I can't speak for them. They can speak for themselves, and they do plenty of that on social media. I have no doubt, though, iDubbbz pays very little attention to them, instead interpreting things through an idealist lens of, but the California guys, be more like us. Have you moved to Canada yet?
Trying to get people to think about in the video is like, why are, like the Scottish kid, he would say, you don't want Europe to become like this, and would just generally just like say this is third world. You don't want Europe to become third world, do you?
Yeah, nobody would want Europe to become the third world. Jomha, are you fucking stupid? Clearly this is that liberal pretension. And that very nice coddled protection you get from your politics not personally affecting you. Nobody wants their country to become a shithole. Even shithole countries don't want to become further shitholes. So yeah, they don't want their country to become a shithole. I'm pretty sure, if you ask me, if you ask Carl Benjamin, and if you ask another native from another country, I guess I'll use Dev because I know he's in Canada. If you ask somebody who's from a country, or has ties to a country of origin, so I guess I'll do double for America and France, and they say, hey, Carl, how do you feel about your culture being raked over the coals, and your national monuments being burnt down by random vagabonds that then tried to replace them with rival religions that do not represent the religion of your country, as it has historically been the case for years and generations? I can almost promise you there is two Frenchmen inside of me. One of them is spitting at the screen and saying, stupid American. And the other one is intelligently trying to discuss why the other one is spitting in the direction of any person who chooses to say this is normal. It is not normal to watch your country be taken over overnight, because please think of the children and please think of the migrants has been used as a justification to allow a person to destroy, ransack, and rape your children. If we're being straight honest. That's not a normal thing to let happen. There is no person in this world that's going to argue that that's a normal thing to let happen.
Call from Board.
It is not a normal thing to let happen to any kind of country. Because there are rules. And there are laws for each country on the book about how they handle immigration. And considering the majority of these people were declared as migrants that were seeking asylum from their third world country, how do you justify a migrant creating hell on earth by bringing the backwards and already very weak culture of their third world country to your state? That is not okay. None of that is okay.
And it's like, well, number one, you have to automatically be making some assumptions that the third world is necessarily, like, shitty.
Is it?
How about the fact that some of them are pissing and shitting in the same water supply they use to cook their food? How about the fact that some cultures believe that men and women shouldn't have equal rights? And actually, if a man just feels it he can just beat the shit out of a woman and murder her in her sleep, and nobody can say anything against him because he happens to be a member of the religious order, compared to a man who's trying to protect his wife, who has been decidedly called a witch, despite no evidence corroborates this, just because a particular member of the Mujahideen despicably wants her to be murdered. How's that for making some assumptions?
It's why it's called a third world. You know this because you live in a third world republic. There is a big difference with what's happening within my country, with those who are illegally entering the country, those who legally enter the country, which is harder to do because of the number of those who illegally enter the country and get put into hotels that cost the taxpayer £10 million a day, which is not okay. I would rather that be used on the homeless. I can't believe for a moment many of the voters would have voted for that, knowing it would hurt them more in their pockets. And I'm sure many have suffered buyer's remorse. You thinking you can speak for someone from Scotland is quite quaint. Scotland has for many years wanted more, the SNP especially, to rejoin the European Union after leaving the United Kingdom. Ironically, leaving one union where they claim their voice doesn't matter to join another where their voice definitely won't matter anymore because no one will be able to translate them. But eventually it will happen, and when it does, they can learn the lesson the hard way.
There's a wide variety of markets in Italy, from what I've seen, as someone who hasn't even been there. But it's it is like you just can't do that. You can't go to a random market and turn your camera on and make a claim about the country.
According to a number of websites,
you can't go to a market, turn on your camera, and make claims about a country. Is that the argument that you're trying to make? Or are you trying to make the argument of you shouldn't be allowed to go to a marketplace and supposedly do a normal thing that would be normal to do? If we're documenting things and talking about a place that is very traditionally something that has been taken over by something that it is not, I think you should be allowed to do that. I can go to my local fucking Publix, and as long as I'm not being a nuisance, I can talk to myself and vlog. That's effectively what the person's doing as a vlogger. They're a travel vlogger. They're going around and they're talking about what they see and they're talking about what they know about the area in question. It'd be like if I went to the Powers and Light District in Kansas City, Missouri, for how many ever long years it's been since I've been a member of a academic program that is a partner collaborator of Skills USA. I can go to that city and I can say, wow, that's so crazy. I remember when I was here during this trip that's documented on my YouTube channel. Man, I remember that place. What happened to it? Local stranger? Oh, they shut that down. They shut it down? Yeah, they shut that down. They weren't able to make a lot of money on it after COVID. Oh, wow. That's so crazy. I can't believe that's a thing that happened. Man, that's so weird. The fact that that is how that works, and what we're attempting to argue is something somehow out of order from that, that's fucking stupid. There's no other way to say it. That's fucking stupid.
38.3% of Italians feel threatened by those who want to facilitate the entrance of migrants. 29.3% view them as the enemy who hold different family concepts from the traditional family. In 2026, Italy will begin issuing nearly 500,000 work visas to non-EU nationals, which is a good thing because of labour shortages. Is that going to be issued to those who already come into the country and stretched resources? Also, your little comment about turning the camera on and speaking on something without any knowledge yet, it seemed a bit ironic. You really are doing the irony thing. Are you trying to be a bread tuber now? Don't ever seek to speak for Italians unless you've been to Italy first. I'm only going on what I've seen from a few sources on the internet. I'm sure they're not credible because someone has to discredit something, but some modicum of research is important. Using GeoGuessr is not research, by the way.
Or about this.
Is Ian trying to suggest that you should ignore evidence? Yes. If you talk about what something is based on what it looks like versus all the other people in the area who might not look like that thing, that makes you a bigot and a racist.
City that you're in. You can kind of make a claim about the city, maybe, If that market is actually representative about the city, sure. But it's not. I went to a lot of virtually on GeoGuessr. I've been to a lot of places in Italy.
Oh, you really are a sweat, aren't you? If you really want to be worldly, commentate on worldly problems, problems that don't impact you directly just yet, apparently, go to those places first, and then speak with any level of authority on it. But don't worry, guys, he's not done with his hotness takes.
Yo, I mean, oh my gosh. This one. This person says, here in Italy, many of my friends have been robbed, assaulted, and it's been by North African immigrants each time. But I guess the smug Californian has ruled that drawing any kind of conclusion from that is wrong. It is wrong. It is racist and weird.
I know you're trying to be funny, but he has a point. She has a point. They have a point. There has been an increase in crime in my country, for example, from those entering the country illegally, many of whom have been caught trying to take advantage of those under the legal age of consent. There's a word for that, R-A-P-E. You think, though, by someone highlighting the fact that those economic migrants who have illegally entered the country are robbing other people, highlighting the fact that they've come from somewhere else, somehow makes them racist and doesn't therefore mean their point is valid. It is valid. Increased crime is blatantly obvious. In my country, if you talk about it, you get arrested for disturbing the peace. Bitch, no chance. Everyone should talk about it. You cannot turn a blind eye to harm caused to those who allowed you the chance to rule a country. All people who seek to be politicians only do so because they seek power, not because they think they can impact any meaningful change. Your ignorance to this is astonishing.
Oh, this I also love. This has 2K likes.
As it should. Many people I've seen on social media, some from very, very privileged backgrounds in the United Kingdom as well. Remember the curly-haired girl? Yeah. Celebrities as well like Lily Allen, Gary Lineker, talking about how we should give up homes and spaces for people to come to our country, to make room for them. Let them in your homes instead.
But not their homes. Not their mansions. Your homes. Your houses. Not their mansions.
Because no one else should be inconvenienced by your choice. And you do not get to decide what the other people of the nation, who are not like you, do with their homes.
Because that's called being an NIMBY.
So do let them into your home because, well, surely you have a nice place, if you haven't already sold it.
This was directed at me. Let an undocumented immigrant move in with you.
Yeah, let an undocumented illegal migrant move into your home alongside yourself and Anissa. Do it. Do it for a week. Do it for a week. Do it for a week. Do it for a day. Document the entire process. Really make sure that they feel welcome in your home. Because if you don't do it, we know you're on the bullshit. That's the honest truth. If you don't do it, you're on that bullshit. If you do it and you don't fucking love it, bro, then we know you're full of shit. Because why should everybody else be expected to live and behave to a standard that you're not willing to uphold and live with yourself?
I mean, sure, I guess. I might want to get to know them a little bit first.
If we implement policies that the side of the aisle you currently claim to stand on want to enact, you don't get a choice in this matter. Don't bother trying to act like you're above it. Seriously, it's beyond embarrassing at this point. Now, obviously, some of his takes have been noticed by the Ethan of Klein. I have seen some people tweeting videos by claiming Ethan's a stalker and harassing Ian. No, Ethan is committing to what he said he would do. He made it quite clear he was going to keep on doing this. You don't like it? That's a you problem. And let's face it here, considering what Ian has done to Ethan, Ethan can do whatever the f he wants.
Like, a perfect example is like hate watching things. Like, there are some people who obviously hate watch me. I have hate watched some people in the past, and I think it stems from this, like, kind of, I don't know, just like you have this association where your, like, entertainment needs to be, like, super critical. It can't just make you laugh or make you happy. Like, you need to be, like, I don't know, maybe either experiencing some sort of, like, suffering.
It sounds to me like somebody's overthinking the situation they've put themselves into. What you call hate watching in the context of you, others call consequence watching. Because everything you do now going forward, once you've delved deeper into the rabbit hole of cuckoldry and lolcowness, your life, your content, became a target for not just Shermanation, but vast amounts of criticism. The only difference here is, the only chance you're getting effed is by your own wife, because I doubt she lets you do it to her.
Or you need to
Brutal.
do it so that it makes you feel better about yourself.
No, not really. It's the same concept behind what the majority of all content posting websites have always been a part of. We want to see what you're up to. We check in on what you're doing. We see that you've slid down harder. We use it to make content. You get mad that you're getting monetized. You say, how dare you do this with your time? You guys have nothing better to live for. We laugh at you because you're being upset. And we continue doing what we're doing. Because what reasons do we have to stop? There's nothing wrong with what's being done. You hate that you're in this position you're in. And you would rather not be victimized by the fact that you've done this to yourself. You get mad that it's happening to you. You continue getting mad that it's happening to you. And you act as though any person who's doing it must be the biggest monster in the world. These people have nothing better to do with their time. Blase, blase, blase. Blase, blase, blase. Blase, blase, blase. Blase. And you just keep yap, 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 yap. Yap, 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 yap. Yap, 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 yap.
And as soon as I realized that that was like it's not really reflective of how I want to be, and consuming so much content that I, like, hate, don't like, whatever, like, didn't make me happier.
I'm not entirely convinced at this stage of your life you know what happiness is, but it is not my place to judge what your happiness is, where you derive it from. I'm just curious if this is just one big smokescreen for you not having a job where you say the following. Would you like fries with that? A. Now, Ethan wasn't done, and there was a second clip shared to the Instagram. We'll go to that next.
That's the problem. Like, you cannot be, like, okay with that type of rhetoric, even if someone's intention is like, I do racial jokes. It's not funny, not cute. You're
Said
not
who?
gonna make anyone
Said who? It's not funny, said who? You? Who give a damn about your opinion?
laugh. I'm not laughing. I don't think anyone here would think that's funny.
The tickle-worthy thing about what...
You see, that's a lie, because the majority of the content that was created across all of the effervescence of YouTube from 2006 to 2018 was dominated by left-wing opinions. You can still say that it's dominated by left-wing opinions, just simply because by having access to all that market capital, it made it so that people have to do a lot more effort to get noticed. It's why we're in an attention economy. You've got a bunch of people who have to do extra work just to be seen, just to be noticed, just to have an opinion, just to have their voices heard, just to have their content be made aware of, if they're not already collaborating with other people who they know. Because that is how it works, because that is where we are, the only thing left for anyone else to take notice of what's happening on the interim of that content is that they have to accept that this is the position we find ourselves in because of what you've chosen to do as your choice of action and interaction and reaction to other people. You get mad and are upset that people are able to make content where that you can't stop them from from being a part of and controlling. You are upset that you're not seen as the de facto opinion and the de jure opinion for everybody else to engage with. You are upset that because you are not able to control that action and interaction between other people, that it means that it's your job to declare what is fetch and what is not. You are upset that you cannot be able to silence the general opinion of most of those individuals who find themselves enjoying this type of material and content, to the point that you say there must be something wrong with those people, when you, quite frankly and quite honestly, will have engaged in and are engaging in this behavior. Because if that's what you say is happening, then what is Anissa doing every time she chooses to make pot shots across the bow, calling people inbred, living vicariously through the material, but being unwilling to come forward and say the exact same shit that she's saying about other people to the face of the people who she's choosing to antagonize? You both are acting like and are behaving as bullies. And you're doing so in a way for the material benefit of everybody else who's consuming and watching it. So you're no different than the people that you believe you are trying to act better than. It just so happens to be that the people in question just aren't accepting it. Like, we know what you're about. We know what you're on. We know what you accept. We know what's fetched to you and what's not fetched to you. We understand that you're upset. We don't care. We understand that you're upset. We don't care. And we're firmly in the position of not caring for as long as you're willing to be in this position of acting like coochie. Because you're acting like coochie. You're acting like a big old coochie. And by that, when I say you're acting like a coochie, I mean you're being a bitch. You're complaining and you're bitching and you're whining and you're crying when it's being done to you, when you were more than happy to engage in this behavior, when you were doing it on the side. Because it's the reason why you stepped away from your content and the material that you were involved in, when you were actively saying, I will stop being a member, and Anissa and I have stepped away from Creator Clash so that I can effectively become a shitty bread tuber. Shittier bread tuber. You'd be a crumb tuber if you were any smaller of a content creator. But for some reason, this is unacceptable and not okay when you're doing it. But it was okay when you and your wife could make tons of money off people as this was happening. And now you're just mad about it. You're just frequently upset that this level of control is not afforded to you anymore. The general answer that a person should ask themselves as to why that is the case should be why. Why are you upset? Why are you mad? Why do you feel that that's the way that you feel about this? Think about it really hard for 5 seconds. And the answer becomes pretty fucking obvious. That's all it takes. 5 seconds. It takes 5 seconds to figure out exactly why he's so goddamn upset. And it's because you went from talking about the story to being the story. Before, you were just, you were around the people. You were just tee-hee, tee-hee, ha-ha. It's really funny, guys. Really funny stuff happening over there. It's so funny, everybody should be consuming it. But the second that the camera turned on to you, oh no, this is the worst thing ever. Oh my god, Chad, you gotta understand, this is so bad. Not even for a second do you have the true feeling of self to just accept, you know what, actually, this is dog shit. I should have never engaged in this kind of behavior. I feel so bad for the fact that I engaged in this kind of behavior. I hope my chat room can forgive me for being such a big bully online. Doesn't occur to you. That is not a factor, and it doesn't occur to you. That is not the way that you look at the material. That's not the way you're looking at the content. That's not the way that you're looking at the majority of people's reactions to your antics thus far. It is the other way around. How dare you criticize me? All you people, how dare you criticize me and make me feel this way? All of you don't get how poorly you're treating me. It's disgusting. It is all frankly disgusting.
What Ian is trying to reference a lot of the time is that it comes from a place of ignorance. For example, the people he uses in his video were catching pickpockets in Rome because pickpocketing is on the rise. So they publicly shame the person doing it to really drive the point home. You may not like that, but that's a you problem again. And jokes about race, people do that for all but one, as in only one group of peoples can't seem to make any jokes about anyone else of any other race, but anyone of that race can make their own jokes about themselves. Although there are, because of the oppression Olympics, yes, an antiquated term, where some get a pass where they can say even more things and get more of a pass because of their race. If one person can't because of the, and I'll try and say it correctly, rhetoric, a word that confounded your head, then no one can. Either everyone is equal or no one is. Now, I firmly support the idea, the mantra of no lives matter. I'm never going to change from this stance, because for everyone to be equal, everyone has to suffer. Something which you can't understand either, being this weird little bread tuber that you've now become.
From Rome, and yes, it was bad. Scammers and graffiti everywhere.
Not gonna lie, from what I've seen of Rome, not through GeoGuessr, but in the news, when the Prime Minister, President, or whatever they're called of Italy has spoken of Italy and the issues Italy is facing, and the fact that Italians are sick and tired of this, it is quite disturbing to see, and saddening, disheartening, that's the correct word, to see Italy with its rich culture being torn to shreds by people who do not appreciate where they are. They have no concept of this. Gratitude went out the window. You can say that's racist all you like, but people from differing cultures who expect and demand to be given a better life, yeah, nah. It's why many come to the United Kingdom thinking we're suddenly the best option available, and because they haven't got the balls to cross the Atlantic, nor the supply.
I'm not even Italian and it makes me sad. Well, don't let your racism affect you too much.
Just out of curiosity, how many people are you trying to suck off when making this video, thinking you can speak for Italians, or for Europe as a whole, any country within Europe for that matter, governments of whom have been thrown out, destroyed, entered into massive coalitions just so they can keep peddling their extreme left ideals that no longer resonate with the majority of their nation. I would include my own country because the votes turnout was so bad last time. If you want your peoples to support what you do, moderation is important, and constantly appealing to people's humanity is no longer important because we just want simple things. Simple things that are often forgotten or ignored under the guise of, yeah, but we got to invest in infrastructure. Guys, infrastructure. Your ignorance is astonishing, and your American attitude, your California attitude, is too poisonous to resonate with the Italians, or anyone else in Europe as a continent that would like to go to Italy, or to Rome more notably.
For all you know, the Italians are loving it.
So according to a report from 2024, a significant minority has thusly been dubbed of 38.3% feel threatened by migrants. Those who come to the country, work and pay into the tax system, integrate within the country as a whole, are not an issue. It's the illegal side of things, or those who are just being allowed in and given access to everything. This rate of 38.3% will only go up if it is not properly addressed. In 2018, there was an article by The Guardian titled, "I love Rome, but Rome doesn't love us," because of the city's more recent at the time migrant crisis. Thousands of migrants were being evicted from squatting in the city's abandoned buildings. That was 800, by the way, people who had been living there for 4 years. There was no plan B at the time. At that time, there were just over 180,000 asylum seekers in Italy, which was dubbed maximum capacity, with most in or near Rome. This is not something you'll learn from GeoGuessr. This is something you learn from doing some basic modicum of research iDubbbz. You need to...
Honestly, at this point, you'll learn it by reading random Guardian articles and pairing it to faces that you've seen in the news over hundreds of thousands of times. Guess which one was living there, and guess which one is not actually a citizen of the country. You'll be surprised by the lack of surprise.
To learn to pay attention to what is going on in the world. That was 7 years ago, and it has gotten worse. Of course people are worried. It's why there are meme videos on the internet of can any Italian say anything nice about migrants? Turns out, no is the answer. It's quite impressive, really. Is it my job to speak for Italians? No, of course it isn't. And I'm sure there are some that are living the best life with those who have come to the country and integrated. That's the part that matters. If you don't, and all you do is exist in a building somewhere, you're making it worse. You've got to contribute, be a part of it. This is why I'm considered a bit idealist in one respect. I would like those who come to my country to integrate. I'm acutely aware, though, that's not what happens because of how often politicians talk about communities of racial, faith, sex, and of sexuality based. It's remarkably common. Integration never works. People always segregate themselves into communities, why London is an absolute nosedive of a place to be. Now, with this subject, I would love to know what you all think about iDubbbz's perspectives on Italy, right? And why everything has to be a cheap gotcha for you're just racist guys. Now, of course, later on Twitch and Kick, I'll be streaming some, I think, American Truck. I will also be streaming on Moistski Live afterwards. I will link all three things, Doodar's Doodar Whatchamacallit pages, yes that, down below in the pinned comment. Hope to see you on all those channels, maybe, if we're lucky. If not, have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, Omegion. And then straight into the next one. Which is that iDubbbz doesn't understand privilege.
Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a response iDubbbz had to Asmongold, who had some points about iDubbbz that he really doesn't get. Before we start, thank you to those who've been coming to the regular streams. Thank you to those who've engaged with the more recent uploads of regular shorts. Consider them exhibition of stupid people's bite size because a full video wouldn't do very well. We're also going to be streaming here later, and to those who don't like the streams and have been deciding to unsubscribe, bye. I love what I do. I love doing this. You don't have to watch the streams. It's quite alright. Unsubscribing is a bit of a rage quit though, which tickles me to no end. So let's dive in and see what the iDubbbz thinks about what Asmongold thinks about him.
And meanwhile, he's sitting in some probably $1 million house, enjoying, the comforts of a first world country without any of these conflicts.
It is widely speculated, and we covered it on this channel, courtesy of Kino Casino and many a Reddit user, that he, iDubbbz, and his husband, Anissa, are no longer enjoying the luxuries of living in California, and are living in the basement at Anissa's house, until Anissa gets bored of him being the cameraman to her only super fibro-fed adult film actor content, and of course her Twitch streams.
I love the way he says it.
And then she ditches him. There is an argument, though, that because of where he has been living in the past, he has in fact benefited from that separation. So he hasn't been able to experience it firsthand. And we also know that especially because a lot of his information comes from a biased perspective consuming documentaries and knowledge gained from GeoGuessr.
I have none of the consequences of living in a city or country that's being
I could just leave it with that really, and this video would be very, very short. I could have done this as a short, in fact. iDubbbz, like many a content creator, when they've made a lot of money, the first thing they've done is gone somewhere more expensive. Not just because of the symbol it represents, but because they have the ability then to network with fellow peers, many of which iDubbbz doesn't have any left. They've ditched him. He's not in communication with. Hell, I could put money on him not having regular communication with the likes of Hassan Piker. Why? Because iDubbbz isn't relevant enough for him. That's important. You could argue iDubbbz threw his entire career away on principle. No, he threw it away because pussy. He threw it away because he is a pussy. He threw it away because once somebody that had conviction and the mind to give thought to what he was doing is allowing others to tell him instead. He called it growing up. I'm not entirely convinced.
I guess, I don't know if he would say this, but it's kind of the implication is that it's being overrun or terrorized by immigrants.
Many cities around the world, capital cities no less, are being overrun. They are considered the magnum opus of that country. Many that come to the United Kingdom, for example, are going straight to London. Why? Because they think London is the land of opportunity. It's not. London's a shithole. But go figure, to placate those who come here illegally, tens of millions are spent daily to give them a decent place to live. 4-star hotels in Canary Wharf, along with many other hotels up and down the country that have been commandeered, which has then led to many of those people taking up delivery jobs to make money, all of which is not right nor acceptable. In the United States, it is happening in many cities because obviously your capital is DC, and it's happening there as well to an extent. You may not have seen it because of where you were in the state of California, and when you were in California, you do benefit from having at that time lived in one of the biggest states in the country. Still a shit.
One of the biggest and shittiest. 90s California is much better than current year California. 90s California was unironically the set of Power Rangers. Current year California is where very passe / mid YouTubers move to then try and survive on the gig economy, praying and hoping that they can suck and fuck their way through the party drug scene to eventually get enough of a likability and shareability to a gatekeeper that then controls, why did my game shut down? That then controls their ability to have a career making mid videos and clickbait titles to then drum up enough of an audience amongst those people that they've huddled together like fucking Pokemon cards or fucking super emeralds to achieve a limited time invulnerability state that allows them to do all of the damage and get none of the consequences for their actions and their words. This has been the case for Lily Pichu. This has been the case for Scara. This has been the case for Joey the Anime Man and Trash Tastes. This has been the case for the majority of any person who wants to grift on anime, that wants to grift on politics, that wants to grift on transgender issues, transgender politics, transgender rights, or just simply present themselves as a transgender or a pre-op transgender to get enough of a group of people to protect them from the consequences of bad politics, bad standards, and bad life choices. The way that it is meant to be used as a stereotype that a single mom will attach herself to a man that will take care of her so that she can forego the consequences of being in a relationship with men or with women that have then treated them poorly and have put them into scenarios and situations that they would otherwise be able to recover from if it weren't the fault of that dastardly man and or woman who put them in a bad situation in the first place, whether it was a decision and choice that they made collectively or it was something that was done to them to cause them to be in such a position. Every time, anytime, and almost certainly all the time, that is how that structure and argument is phrased. And I understand why there are people who make this structure of conversation, but it is cope at the end of the day, most of the time that it's said. And the reason why it is cope is because the majority of the time that this argument is made, it is made from a position that it must obviously be somebody else's fault, instead of the fault of the people who are involved in the first place. Surprise, surprise, it's the fault of the people who put themselves in the position to find themselves there in the first place. But that's not usually how it's framed, and that's not usually how the discussion goes. Because, quite frankly, being a fucking content creator, or being in the content creative space, is in and of itself a thing that people don't necessarily get. It is not a normal thing to be a person who puts themselves on the internet for money. It's not a normal thing to be a person who puts themselves on the internet for money. It's not a normal thing to be a person who puts yourself on the internet and creates revenue from being somebody who entertains and effectively is babysitting people online. That's the way that it's been phrased to me, at least. I find myself agreeing with that argument only because sometimes it does feel like you're babysitting idiots. Not the people here, but specifically certain types of people, other places in the world. It feels like you're babysitting a type of person who cannot handle the normal reaction that you would give to somebody for behaving a certain particular way that other people would take umbrage with. And addressing that as directly as a person can somehow has resulted in people acting like that is not the most rational thing to say or respond to. It is what it is at the end of the day. And what it tends to be is some absolute bullshit. But it's not an unfair statement to make. Because a lot of the time, a lot of the people only got into being influencers because they wanted that particular viewpoint. They wanted that particular outcome. They wanted to be a part of a group. They wanted to be a part of a group. By being a part of that group, they could do the least amount of effort. They could do the least amount of that benefit. They could put in 20%. They could put in 20% of the actual content that they had to do to actually be fucking good. And maybe they live there because it just happens to be where they are. That they didn't live there or go there because they really wanted to be that thing. They're just there because that's the state that they were born in. That's the state they live in. That's the state they were born in. There's nothing else to it. There is no deeper discussion. There is no deeper understanding. That's just where we are. Bro, we here. Like, Plymouth Rock didn't land on us. Type shit. But there is more examples of bad things coming out of the interactions that we take with people, that we find ourselves noticing all these people coming to the same place. I know, Mother. His name is Brandon, Mother. He has a name tag. Okay. So, there is a contractor from my state's power company that needs to work on the surge protector for the house. So I need to turn the stream off so that nothing fucks up my computer, so that he can do his job. And then after he's done that, the stream will come back live and we can continue business as usual. Okay? Okay. I will see you all in about 5 to 10 minutes.